Hey, this is Patrick from Titus Andronicus, and you're listening to the Hoodrat Recap Podcast.
We got bored. So we started a podcast about the best bar band in the land, man. This is the Hoodrat Recap, and we are back. We're your steady stream of the unified scene, all the news and reviews of the band that you love, we love, and they just blew out the Bowery Ballroom, and we're going to hear about that. Hello, everybody. This is Stage Right Mike on the mic, and I can talk hold steady all night. And when I like to talk hold steady heavy, I throw up the rat signal. And just like that, the Hood Rat Pack has assembled! Hark! So Unified Scene's very own King of Queens, Gaspar. Gaspar, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Mike. But you know what? I've been trying to get people to call me Craig Finn.
Why is that, Gaspar?
Because I'm all scenes and sentiment.
How's that working out for you?
It's not working out so good, man. People keep calling me Jared Leto with a journal.
I quit.
I liked him in Joker.
Quit.
I'm the one guy that liked him as Joker.
I mean, I quit. There's nothing to say here. It's god awful. I feel bad for Craig Finn. I feel bad for Jared Leto. I feel bad for Mike and I. I feel bad for everybody that's about to hear this. I mean, I don't know where you pulled that one out, but I wish you would shove it back where it came from.
We had one written about Bowery Ballroom and about Broadway, but that's the one we decided to go with. So we voted before you.
I think you decided to go with that.
So it's clear now the two of you are against me. So that's what I know, because I mean, there's just I might quit. That's enough to make me quit. I feel bad for Jared. I feel bad for Craig. I mean, it's a guy we like, and you guys, you literally.
And that's the sound of our third mic and our producer, Kevin is whenever. Kevin, how you doing today?
I mean, I'm doing good. For those who don't know, it was just my birthday. I've crossed into the second half of my life.
Happy birthday, Kev.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Which is why, unfortunately, the time you guys were able to do the interview, I was partying it up with cake and ice cream. So I had to miss the interview you guys did, but we'll get to that in a minute, because I know we have some other things we're going to talk about in the scene news. But aside from being super busy and missing the interview, which I'm going to listen to like everybody else, things are great. I mean,
yeah.
Jared Leto references aside, I mean, we were off to a great start. I mean,
My So-Called Life. That was his best work.
Mike was crushing it on the his intro. And I mean, I thought he was going to come through my headphones at one. He was so boisterous.
We might have to turn that down.
It's a next level intro here.
And we're not going to say how old Kevin is, but you do realize you've been alive for a fifth of the United States of America. You're like 20%. You've been alive for 20% of the United States of America. So
there's a stat you don't get every day.
Oh no.
Kevin's just,
first off, it's old. Second of all, that's like a weird math problem for everybody to figure out. I mean, I'll say it. I hit the 50 something. So yes, I am now in that decade. Like my other two hosts, for a while, I got to be the baby of the group. I'm still the baby of the group, but now I'm in the same decade as those old bastards. So.
Now you'll start getting the AARP mail like we are.
You know what? I'm looking forward to
You can eat at Denny's for half price now on Wednesday morning. So
there is that.
So Gaspar, a couple of days ago, didn't you go to Rough Trade in the city and watch Craig do a little storytellers thing?
So Heather Jackson and I went out to Rough Trade, which actually takes place a couple of days after the show we're going to talk about on this episode. It was June 3rd. and got to see Craig Finn do an in-store, which was kind of cool because he did it a little differently this time around than he's done in the past because there is a book involved. He plays a total of 4 songs and then reads 3 stories. So it was kind of like song and then story and then song and then story. He does pick the stories that coincide with the songs. So like you got People of Substance, and then he did Missing Numbers, and then he did Clayton, and then he did I Forgave Myself for You. And then Shamrock he ends with, and he does Unrehearsed, which is the story that relates to Shamrock. And it was pretty cool, but there was one point out of this that I wanted to make because it was like a revelation, and I'm about to get my thread and thumbtacks out again because Craig says that the Nathen character from the new record, he believes is the same Nathen from prior records. So the obvious choice, exactly. So the obvious choice about that is $90, which he specifically references a Nathen. But the interesting thing is that record is part of a trilogy, which means Nathen is on the other records, or at least has the potential to be on the other records. So now I have to go back and figure that out. So this whole thing was hosted by Jamie Avirgan, who is the co-host of Summer Album, Winter Album. So it's kind of cool to see the two of them live. It's like getting a podcast live. And so Jamie made the point of saying that so Craig is fleshing out what he's calling the CFU, or the Craig Finn Cinematic Universe, which I thought was pretty cool. So I'm not wrong here with my thread and thumbtacks.
That's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was curious, was it open, like, was there questions from the audience, or was it just what this guy Jamie asked?
No, so basically it was Jamie interviewing him about the record and the books, and just the overall storyline and how he came to write all this stuff. He told his story about the guitar, which he's been playing all these songs on, the guitar that Steve Selvage gave to him when he was visiting, and that he then wrote. And I make this point in our interview, but I mean, maybe a good point to make it again. He says at the in-store that Steve gave him this guitar, and it was like a $50 guitar that he then went home and wrote 23 songs on. And it's got me thinking, like, okay, we get, what is it, about 10 on Always Been? So what is the 13 other songs? Because now I want to hear them.
It's costing them about 50 cents a song.
I know, and I was curious too, like, because we've tried to break down the proper order, I was wondering if he would allude to his story in the order that
they did a
we
bit.
intended.
So basically what he says is that it's a collection of songs that are out of order but do tell a linear storyline. There's a couple of what he's calling bottle episodes. So I took that to mean, and he didn't say it specifically, but from what he says about Fletcher's, I think Fletcher's is a bottle episode, even though there is a reference to Shamrock in there in the story that coincides with Fletcher's. I don't think Fletcher's is part of the overall story. I think it's just kind of like one of these little episodes.
Yeah.
And I think the same for Postcards, because Postcards doesn't really seem to fit the storyline. But he also did say that he believes in leaving the mystery there. So I don't think you're ever going to get a straight answer from him of like what goes in what order. Gotcha. If we were to ask him like, hey, put these in order, I think he would say no. So,
all right.
Which I get. It makes it kind of fun.
Well, and that was seeing it sort of stripped down acoustic at Rough Trade. Then you got to see it in full glory at the Bowery Ballroom last Saturday with members of the War on Drugs and a whole sort of cast of characters, which if people are signed up to Craig's Substack, he had a very nice story and a photo in there of people backstage, and it was great to hear to read his take. So I'm curious now to hear what you and Kat and Bill's take was on the episode, on the concert.
Yeah, absolutely, and they do a great job of recapping the whole show. So why don't we just jump right into it?
Let's do it.
We were laughing up towards Lake Street, and she motioned towards the church. So the hardest thing they asked me.
So guys, we're sitting here with Bill from Chicago, Vermont Cat, and we got the King of Queens with us. So guys, this Bowery Ballroom on May 30th. I don't know anything about it. What was the format? Well, tell me everything, like how you got there, what went on. Why don't we start with you, Bill? You're the newest voice on here.
I flew in from Chicago that day. We had a great meetup beforehand. We found the thinnest bar in New York for us to hang around and be fat in, as big Midwesterners. And the ballroom was really cool. It was about a 500 person venue. Looked like a ballroom or whatever, and it was really like a very incredible experience. I thought, I've been very lucky. I went to the Weekender this year. I went to all the shows in Minneapolis. Those are all really great shows, but this one was kind of special. It was really, he had a collection of artists up there that were, just strong. And they were obviously having fun. And I've seen a lot of live music, a lot of live bands. I have pretty eclectic, wide tastes. And when bands aren't getting along, you can always tell.
Right.
That the performance isn't as good. They don't jive. The interplay isn't as good or whatever. Like, they were up there having fun. And when that happens, magic happens in music.
I was just wondering, did you guys see Jane's Addiction's last show? Do you think they were getting along on that show? Or?
I don't think they like each other very much. I'm really thinking that I'm waiting for like a brawl along the lines of what we saw today with some of our least savory people in the country when Oasis gets together. I think they're just going to duke it out. I don't think they're going to last 3 shows.
So, Kat, what are your early thoughts on this show?
Well, Bill's exactly right. That get together beforehand where we were all the fattest people in the skinniest bar in all of New York City was such a hootenanny because we took up the whole length of the bar and also maybe took over the music a little bit, and a giant off-key, fairly tipsy sing-along to Lido was incredibly charming. But then getting to the show was phenomenal because it was a really interesting vibe. It was really low key in the audience itself, but people were excited. They were just sort of a different, it was Craig solo excited. And then the band itself, all the band members who had come in from all over, I guess they'd only played together once beforehand. They had a practice the day before. But this was a group of incredibly talented musicians who were all really stoked to be there and stoked to play with each other. And it, to some degree, felt like an incredibly practiced and well-played jam session because things felt a little loose up there, but also super happy. Everyone was really excited to be on the stage with each other. They were really letting each other shine in all capacities, and you could really feel that happiness radiate from the stage out to the audience.
Wow. Thank you for that recap. I feel like I was there. That was very insightful. So, Gaspar, what was was there an opening band? I don't understand the format at all.
So there was Kathleen Edwards open, but you know what? Before we jump into that, we've touched upon a little bit of the bar that we were at. I think we need to pay it some justice. The bar is Milano's. It's on Bowery, and according to citylore.org, it's one of the last old school Bowery bars from the days of the Bowery Boys, which makes it super cool.
Wow.
Just to give you the mental picture of what it is, like, you got to picture this really long, old school wooden bar. There's more room behind the bar than there is in front of the bar. So if there's a row of chairs and if people are sitting in them and you're standing behind them, you have to leave the bar to let somebody out of the bar. Because there just is no, like, that's how tight it was. They're not joking about that. And we had quite the crew there. And hopefully you guys can help me remember everyone, but I'm going to try. Mike from Roanoke was with us, and Garrett was at the bar, I think, as well, too, right? He was not at the bar. Garrett was at the show.
Was not at the bar.
Help me out. Who else?
All right, I got you. So Kurt Genesee and his friend Russ, who is not on social media, and John, whose last name I forget, but had the most amazing Western shirt.
Oh, that's right.
And Bill and Big Mike from Roanoke and myself and Gaspar and Heather. I don't think I've forgotten anyone at that point, have I? I think that was all of us.
We're forgetting a couple because I counted a dozen people, and so I think we're forgetting people. But
Yeah.
I think people kind of drifted up at the very end.
a couple
Yeah.
that came in at the very end too.
And what was cool about that, this was like the crew that you normally see at the Hold Steady show mixing in with once we get to the club. It is a very different scene. There's a lot of people who are not going to be at the Hold Steady show, but you still kind of had that feel at the show, which I thought made it very cool. But getting to Kathleen Edwards, I thought she was great. She is an incredible singer-songwriter. What did you guys think of Kathleen Edwards?
Oh, agreed. She's phenomenal.
I thought she was very, very good, and I think also she added a lot doing the backup vocals. She did a really admirable job doing the backup vocals. I think like a lot of those songs in this particular album really lend themselves to needing backup vocals, or not needing them, but I mean it really, and also some of the covers,
Right.
that they do, like I thought the closer when he was announcing all the people were just like really did this really long kind of. I was doing all right, then a few people died.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's a lot of backing vocals in that song, and I thought she did amazing, and she played violin too, is of note during Craig's show as well. And then she was joined later on. The Horn Steady came out too. One of the guys from Horns.
Right. Mike, the guy that you had seen play with him with Bob Mould.
Nelson Devereaux, is that it?
That's him, yeah. Nelson Devereaux.
He's really cool dude. Yeah, he's like...
Well, the two other Horn guys came out there at various made at least short appearances.
Right. So one of the things that struck me about the band was like we have this Always Been band, which is made up of the War on Drugs and a few other people. But then once you bring in so Annie Nero joins at one point and Stuart Boogie joins at one point. He's the other sax player. Now you have this mix of this band and kind of sort of We All Want the Same Things band and even elements of the Uptown Controllers. It was like all three versions of how Craig tours, which I thought was very cool. It was 11 musicians on stage at one point. It was,
and that was not a terribly big stage either. It's just,
it really
just
wasn't.
one of those little vaudeville theaters, and seeing them all crammed up. I think that kind of lended to that feeling of a really technical jam session because it was so many disparate people kind of just jammed onto this stage that.
And you could see that in some ways. I mean, they did handle it like in some of the songs like a jam session where they were handing off to each other because. The problem when you have a tremendous number of musicians on stage, and especially if they're having to do some level of improvisation because they have only done one rehearsal, is that if you wind up with everyone playing at once, you end up with everything getting muddled in the mix and it just not being that great a end product. And, they really did a good job of whatever. And I also think it's really interesting to note, one thing I really made is that it reminded me of we were in Minneapolis at the before show, the interview and the happy hour. They were asking Tad about his iconic sound, and he said, "Oh, I hadn't figured it out yet." And Craig made a comment, and I really thought it related to Adam from the War on Drugs.
Right.
Craig said, he's like, the thing is that everybody who thinks they can play guitar thinks they're like one pedal away from having this incredible sound, and they're always changing things around. He's like, Tad can pick up. Craig's like, I can hand him my guitar, and immediately, he doesn't turn any knobs, doesn't make any pedal adjustments, and it sounds immediately like Tad. Right. So you realize that you're more than one pedal away. And I think Adam is especially like that, where you wouldn't need to know who was playing. You wouldn't need to know anything about Craig Finn. If someone played you a recording of that and you knew about guitarists or whatever, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's him. He has such an iconic sound. It's that's a signature of really great guitarists is that they have that iconic sound. It's like a Mark Knopfler. Like he could sit on anybody's record.
Yep.
And he doesn't need to be in the credits. You'd immediately know from the first couple notes he strums that that's him. Period.
Right. I agree. Absolutely. I mean, I think you see that in it's Bethany he solos on, right? Where, it was great on the record, but that was transcendent at the show. He just kind of takes over with the guitar solo, and it was like, this is the best part of the song.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, look at it. he's definitely one of those that have reached the point where he's got a sound. He's got his own sound that I think you'd have to say is like an iconic sound.
Right. So, I mean, just to say a little bit about what they played, I mean, it was mostly the new record with a couple of older songs thrown in. Kat, I know you specifically mentioned when we were on our way to the show that you were looking forward to hearing Fletcher's. So what was your opinion on hearing Fletcher's live for the first time?
Hearing Fletcher's live was a completely different animal from hearing the recording, because the recording is it's a story told to music, and it's this very, very bittersweet and sort of heart-wrenching little slice of life. And I love it because it's kind of depressing. Actually, it's really depressing, but I love sort of the hopelessness of it. Whereas hearing it live with all of these musicians together and contributing, and the joy feeding back and forth from the audience, the song took on a whole different sound for me, because it didn't end up sort of petering off into sadness and nothingness. It was sort of a raucous story from beginning to end, and it absolutely changed the sound of it for me. I loved it live.
Yeah, it's such a good example of how like live music can change a song for you, because that's not really a song I like on the record. It's my least favorite of the Talkie songs, but I agree with you. Live, it was completely a different beast, and it was enjoyable.
I think one of the things I've heard from many people about the show is, the last two times I've seen Craig by himself or doing his material was I saw him at Shuba's in Chicago, and I saw him, play before Bob Mould in the Turner Ballroom. And it's very different when he's playing by himself, and it's very kind of a sparse scenario. Like, we saw like the biggest example of those songs. I mean, they just blew that stuff the hell up. I mean, the band was so big, so energetic, like it's a completely different production of those songs than just him solo or him with the sax guy filling in a bit and whatever. And it was grandiose. It was this, huge, huge thing. And it's even more stark because, while it's this huge, like joyous, the sound, most of the songs, like most of Craig's solo songs and a lot of the Hold Steady songs, are intensely sad.
Right.
Or at least, or intensely full of struggle or bittersweet or whatnot, right? I mean,
yeah, I wish I could have heard him all big like that, because I saw him, I saw him do him in Iowa with just Nelson Devereaux, and he played the songs down because he was opening for Bob Mould. And he said, he didn't want to compete with Bob Mould sonically, so he said he was playing them softly to invite people in so Bob Mould could blow their doors off later. So I wish you guys, I wish I would have heard what you guys heard. That sounds, and I love the versions that I heard too, but I would love to compare them to what you heard, just to hear different versions of the same song, man.
So now, Mike, when you saw him in Iowa, did he play them all on that one acoustic guitar? Like the newer, did he tell the story about the acoustic guitar?
Yeah, the one that Steve gave him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that he's playing, because he's done that now. He did that at this show and at the in-store that we'll talk about later. But all the songs on this record came from that guitar. Then one of the things that he had said that I found interesting, and I think he might have said it at the in-store, was he wrote 23 songs on that guitar, which makes me think, like, where's the rest of them? Because now I want to hear them.
He told a very funny story about that guitar at Shuba's, how, he was driving back and picked up a car from his dad, or, picked up a car down in Arizona during the pandemic, and was driving back, stopped and saw Steve. Steve gave him this guitar, and he's like, and he really liked it, told the whole story about, how he'd written all these songs on it. It's like a $50 guitar. And he said, well, then I'm like, I want to play with this guitar. It's not really meant to play at a show. It doesn't have to go. If you notice, it's got the straps that go into there's no place for them. It's got the straps that grab onto the hole.
Right.
And he said, so, I went and he gave me this $50 guitar, and I went and I got pickups put on it and whatever. And so now I own an $800 $50 guitar.
That's awesome.
We got the pickups and the strap and the whatever, so you could tour with it.
So if you had to pick highlights of the show, We'll go to Bill first. What's a highlight for you from this show?
Man, that's a really hard one. I really liked hearing everything on the new album. I really liked the extra when they were kind of going, and each one guy was they were kind of introducing everybody. Because they seemed like he was on such a high by them. It was a serotonin overload. Like Craig was just like beside himself, when they did it. I was doing all right, and a couple people died. I really do, did like mostly the thing was to hear the new album and hear, Bethany was obviously a huge highlight. Let me ponder that because there's a couple other notable things that I think are just slipping my mind.
Vermont or Cat? How about you?
Vermont.
Vermont. That's what it says on her name tag. I can't.
I mean, there's only 600,000 of us or so. It works.
You are representing the whole Vermont.
Yeah.
The whole Vermont.
So I think I really agree with what Bill said. It honestly kind of felt like the Blues Brothers band, where there's all these master musicians, all each giving each other their props and their time to shine during that last sort of solo extravaganza for everyone. I really loved hearing Kathleen Edwards and I can't remember the other lady.
Annie Nero.
Yes, thank you. I loved hearing Kathleen and Annie doing such strong backup vocals because they're tend to be a little lower in the whole shebang on the recording, whereas live they were really more present. It felt like, and I really dug that. I really liked just hanging out with friends in the crowd in a sort of different but very familiar environment. I was right in front of Erin, and she and I just kept turning to each other when a new song started or something funny happened or a really powerful moment happened, and we just turn to each other and be super excited. And that was really lovely. And that was how the whole crowd felt. It was a very chill but very happy and excited and respectful crowd.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my favorite part of the show was Postcards. That's also my favorite song on the record. But so Stuart Boogie's not out on the stage for most of the show until that song. And he kind of came out unannounced, and it was like there was this whole Stuart moment, which was just made it all the better.
That is a great song. I also just, as a song, I really do like it, and I like the metaphor of I walk with a cane.
Yeah.
Kind of like, you have these things, because everybody has these things that they can't really get over. They try to get over in life, but they become like a crutch. If you're walking and you're like, you did something that maybe didn't live up to your expectations, or maybe it was terrible, or something happened that you really, really regret. And you kind of carry that baggage with you that now you're stuck with that you've got whatever you're carrying with yourself. And now you've got, Craig's Catholic analogy, you got that cross to carry, right?
And it's a brutal image when you think about it. It's like he's so upset with himself that he literally messes with how he walks by damaging his foot.
He abandoned his friend. His friend basically had a heroin overdose, and they were doing something, left him in the tub.
Right. Have you played this record for non-Hold Steady, non-Craig Finn friends?
No.
So I could tell you it's difficult.
Yeah.
Because you have to explain, no, there's a concept. See, there's a whole story you got to get into.
And you have to figure out how each piece fits together with each other piece. Yeah. I've played it. I've had it on in the car when friends have been around, and they are fine with it.
I've been at work, and people look at me like, is Christian rock? Are we doing Christian rock now? I'm like, no, not Christian rock.
But I think the thing that and I love both, but there's music where the music itself speaks to you. There's you get improvisational music like jazz, like Cat's favorite national band of Vermont, that go and they do their thing, right? You're listening to the music and it's not really the lyrics or whatever. Craig, you've got to do a really deep dive because it's a story, and it's a complex story, and it interrelates to stories in other songs. Sometimes it interrelates to stories in other albums or multiple albums. And so that's a whole different thing of listening to lyrics as opposed to like getting a jam in your head.
Right.
Listening, you don't need any lyrics with, Charles Mingus, right?
Right.
It's telling its own emotional story without lyrics. This is the opposite, right? That you're really getting a story. And
well, at least I've told this story on here before, but the time when I Need a New War came out, I was blasting it in the back room at work, and my coworkers are like, "What's up with the Randy Newman marathon?" So, but that's fitting because I think Craig will go on solo into his later. I think he'll be like Randy Newman, Paul Simon. I think he's just going to keep going until he can't go anymore. I think he's going to go forever.
It's funny. My father made that same comparison.
Yeah.
Well, how can you not? The picture on the album cover,
yeah,
True.
Randy Newman's album, right? I mean,
That's true.
That's what he recreated. I mean, he knows that that's what it is, right? I mean, because he's over the expressway. It's like 40 years later, he found the spot, And it was his LA album. He produced it in LA.
Yeah.
Right.
Just another perfect day. I love LA.
FYI, we don't have to sing short people. We can acknowledge it and move on.
Yeah.
That one's insensitive, but I love LA. Everyone can do it.
It's true. But, also, he doesn't play the piano, but Warren Zevon is my other big comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Just spinning these stories that sound like one thing on the surface, but if you follow all of the details farther down, there are worlds that open up.
Yeah.
I could totally see that.
That's really important, I think, because a lot of times the lyrics, I think I was trying to get at earlier, is the lyrics in some music is really just sort of along the surface, right? That you really don't have to listen to the lyrics. You don't even need to know what they're saying. It could be in a different language. I mean, it doesn't matter, because it's the composition of it's the music or the arrangement that that you're listening to. Whereas this, I think, if you're not willing to dive a bit deeper, if you're not willing, there's some music that's easy. Well, it's like easy listening, right? There's music that's easy to listen to, like Steely Dan. It's easy to listen to Steely Dan. I think in order to be receptive to this, you have to take a deep dive. I mean, you have to really be able to go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And I think you have to be able to relate to the stories, because the stories are relatable because it's basically, it's about loss, it's about life. And as you go through life, you kind of accumulate these traumas and you accumulate these losses as you go along. And how do you keep going on, and how do you keep reinventing yourself? And, sort of the whole full circle is you keep reinventing yourself. And then at the end, you realize that, okay, these might have been different facades we put on, but I'm the person I've always been, right? That you really never truly reinvent yourself. You just do some slight distortions of the image you're projecting.
Awesome. I like that. So in a whole nother direction, what did you guys think of the John Hyatt cover, the Walk On?
I loved it. It was super sweet, and
Bill's putting he's giving thumbs up and flashing.
90 million% yes.
That might have been one of my. And you know what? Here's the interesting thing. When I got back to work and I had to go in the office on Tuesday, the first two things that I listened to was a John Hyatt cover, and I listened to it a couple different times. And then I listened to I Was Doing All Right, Then a Few People Died. And those are like the first two things I listened to, because those are the two songs. Those are the two that popped in my head as, maybe, I don't know what at the time I was thinking, but those are the two that ended up being like earworms. Like, as I was walking around New York the next day, like those were complete earworms, right? That one of those two songs was in my head.
Yeah. And, it's funny because those two songs are also like a pretty special part of the set, in that he has not done I Was Doing Fine since 2016. The last time he played it was at Westfest. So it's kind of become a little bit of a rarity for him, which isn't uncommon because his format, I think, when he's doing his solo records is sticking to the solo records and playing like a couple that were hits. So songs will fall by the wayside, but it was kind of cool to get that one because I hadn't heard it in a long time. And kind of the same for the cover because that's how I think they first played together. It was they first covered that song back in 2022 at something called Drugsember in Philadelphia. I am unfamiliar. I don't know if you guys are familiar and can fill me in, but that was the first time they did it together. And you could just see that in the performance on stage. Like it was a special moment because this was kind of their thing. Like that's kind of how this, you could almost say how this record eventually comes about because they make that connection. So
it's what brought them together and brought them to that moment with all of them on stage, just playing their hearts out.
Yeah,
you're right. It was very sweet. I had forgotten about the fact that they had done that at Drugsember.
Have you been to that or no?
No.
Oh, okay. That's the first I've ever heard of it.
So much traveling I can do.
Agreed.
I'm still wiped out from the Twin Cities weekend, and I live in the Twin Cities. So
it takes 3 hours to get out of Vermont to even start a trip to go somewhere, so it's always a haul.
So speaking about other shows, Bill, did I see on social media that you're going to be in Jersey?
I am. I'm going to Jersey.
Awesome. I am going to that one as well, so I will see you there.
I think that's going to be great. I thought the last time they played at that venue was terrific. There were, at that point in time, for whatever reason, there was a good group of people over from a good contingent of the Weekender folks that were there.
Really?
In UK, this last time they played there was 3 or 4 people from the week that were at the Weekender.
Oh, wow.
That were at the previous Jersey City show, which was 2 years ago?
Yeah, I usually try to make the Jersey City shows because it's not far for me. I don't know that I've made them all, but it's funny because I never really run into too many people. It's like a different vibe. So I'll be looking for you guys. It's like, where are my people?
Really thin bar. You got to do the research. You're out in the East Coast.
And Kat will be seeing you at the Philly show. So that's cool.
You'll be seeing me at the Philly show too.
You're going to Philly too. Great. So
I'm jealous. I'm going to miss that one.
Reunite.
Philly party.
It's not too late to go to Philly. How far are you from Philly, Mike? You got to be a lot further than I am. I think I'm only.
I think I can get to New York quicker, can I? No.
No, it's kind of on the way, isn't it? I think it's.
Yeah. I've been to. I go to Pittsburgh sometimes. That takes a long time, so it's far.
Yeah.
There's probably a direct flight out of Minneapolis to Philly. I would think.
Yeah. It's just, Bill, pay my way, and I'm on it. So.
There you go. Hey, you can sleep on the floor of my hotel room.
There you go.
I mean, I haven't booked somewhere yet. I could book somewhere with multiple rooms.
Right. I mean, that's the whole thing. You shouldn't have to worry about your hotel room because you spent a lot of time in your hotel room. You had a failed trip.
Exactly.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I mean, I think we did pretty good summing up the show. Thank you so much for joining us on this.
It was great talking about it. Look forward to Philly. So 3 out of 4, 75% of us will be in Philly.
Nice.
Thanks for rubbing it in, Bill.
We can, there's going to be a bunch of folks there, so we can try and do more recaps.
It's interesting that White Eagle Hall, there's a couple of those venues that still exist in the country, these old fraternal halls. Mm-hmm. Like where I saw Craig in Milwaukee was the old Turner Hall, which was a German
Turner Hall is amazing.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, right? Yeah. And Thalia Hall, which was Czechoslovakian in Chicago, I've seen the Hold Steady there before, and that's also really interesting. And those have a lot of character. They were old dance halls. Those were, those were all places where each of those various ethnic groups they got together in polka, and
mm-hmm.
That was their social thing when they didn't really speak the language and needed some connection. Were looking for something to reach out to that reminded them of, where they went. It wasn't like at those times you could hop on a plane and go fly back to Germany or Poland. It was, getting on a boat. You weren't going back. Once you left, you weren't going back. It was going to take 3 weeks to go back. And you don't have the money, right? It was.
Yeah, that's Kat and I were talking about that. back at my house when we were waiting to go to the show, or it might have been after the show, the bucket list of venues we want to go to.
Oh, yeah.
It's like I've recently started doing that. And we have a couple of the same, actually, because you said Red Rocks was one of yours, right?
Yeah, Red Rocks is a big one. I lived in Colorado and I never went there.
I saw Joe Russo there like 2 years ago.
Oh, awesome.
I've seen a lot of shows at Red Rocks, but I have a couple of very good friends who live in Colorado. But the last show I saw at Red Rocks was tangentially J-Rad. Joe Russo's Almost Dead. I'm also into jam bands. And don't hold that against me, but
Well, here, you can have fish, Bill. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Most of us can claim Noah Khan now. We're very excited to have Noah Khan.
Well, it's not like having your state band. I mean, they're national treasures. They almost got in the Rock and Roll Hall. They were stolen. That was stolen from them. The fan vote, they beat the fan vote by 30% for the next largest band, and they screwed them. That's why it's a scam. Hall screwed them.
So another venue on that list was Mikey, the last venue that you went to, the Codfish Hollow. Cat and I both agree. That looked like it was so much fun, and I want to hit that one. And also, Lizzie had mentioned a place, Cat, you'll remember it.
The Cavern.
The Cavern, yeah. That's
That'd be awesome.
So far, those are my three.
I would love to go see a show at the Caverns.
So we're going to start a campaign of
let's book it now. Let's go. And the next time I see you guys, I want to see you guys next to one of the greatest art museums in the world, but nobody takes pictures in there. Everybody takes pictures outside next to the Rocky statue. So I want to see you guys with your arms all raised next to the Rocky statue.
Maybe I go to the Mooter Museum. That's where I belong.
I've been there. That place is crazy. Tell them about that.
I love the Mooter Museum. It is a surgical teaching museum from founded in the mid 1800s or so, and it is all sorts of surgical oddities and a lot of surgical pathology, and it is pretty disturbing to a lot of folks, but if you enjoy a wall of syphilis skulls, that is your place to be. It has so much fascinating. It's like a Wunderkabinet. It's just this very Victorian, polished metal and wood cabinet of curiosities, and it's a little morbid for a lot of folks, but they have a lot of chairs where you can sit down for a little bit and catch your breath.
That's it. Thanks for describing it. Now I don't have to go there because that wouldn't be my deal. But
it's so cool.
Parts.
I will tell you this. I learned this in England, moving around with Cat. If Cat tells you there's this weird place you want to go because it's going to be a good time.
I bet.
Like
really, I figured you'd give a better description than me, but I went there years back when I was out there for a baseball game, and it's really worth going, and it's really odd, and there are like a lot of old pickled pieces of stuff and weird apparatus that they use that really trigger the imagination. It's kind of like, if Dexter had some of that stuff.
So, all right. So do you guys have anything to promote? Bill, what about you? Do you have anything to promote? Where can our listeners find you? Anything?
I really don't have anything to promote.
He's Bill from Chicago. He's going to the Hold Steady shows. He's having more fun than all of us.
You can find him at the Hold Steady shows.
And then what about you, Kat? You still got that awesome Instagram page going, or what do you got going?
You mean the one that I haven't updated in about 2 years?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, Instagram changed its format, so it was more annoying, and I left. But my page is still up and has tons and tons of fun photography on it. I just haven't posted anything in a while because Instagram pisses me off so badly. It's Go Rubber Chicken Go. It's the only, you'll find me really easily. It's a lot of pictures of Americana and abandoned places and old neon and ghost signage.
Oh, that stuff I love. I love that stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, there's a bunch of sign geeks out there. There are dozens of us. Dozens!
Tens and tens.
Yeah, it's probably not a show people would travel for, but is everyone aware that Craig is opening for the Decemberists in Chicago?
I was not aware of that, actually. That's pretty cool.
I'm going to that. It's actually in Skokie, right outside of Chicago.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know. I don't know if there's some overlap. The Decemberists also, I think, are one of those bands that you got to get a little bit deeper into to be able to It isn't going to be naturally rockers,
I do love a wordy, literate.
Yeah.
I like
band,
the Decemberists,
Yeah.
Yep.
When is that show happening?
I can tell you in a second if you want to tell them some more about the parts you saw at the museum. I'll find the date.
I just keep adding more and more things to travel to.
Yeah, that's all I need.
Just travel and music is my favorite thing to combine. So this will be the second time this year I'm in Philly, and then I was in New York, and then going to Philly again, and then going to Boston in September for Bouncing Souls, and et cetera.
Awesome.
Okay, Sunday, July 27th. It is the Decemberists with Kevin Morby and Craig Finn.
Oh wow, that'll be a great show.
That sounds awesome, and sadly,
it's at the Illinois Science and Technology Park in Skokie, which is borders Chicago on the north side.
Awesome.
Great neon signage there.
There's probably neon signage. Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and you are welcome back anytime. So please, definitely come back and see us, Kat.
Thanks, friend. This was awesome.
Second time, and
we'll see most of you in Philly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll be traveling vicariously through you guys, so take lots of pictures.
We'll do our part.
We'll come back and tell you all about it.
Time to get in the road, put your thumb out, get trying.
So that was a great interview you guys did with Kat and Bill. And it sounds like you guys had a great time at the show. I mean, Bill's line about being the fattest people in the skinniest bar in New York, I've been in many of those rooms, so I can totally get that. But the other part, too, is I was just very excited to hear how much of this show you guys actually remembered, because I've been to Hold Steady shows with you, especially Gaspar, where I know your memory gets a little hazy. So,
I mean, it's a different vibe at a Craig Finn show because it is more subdued. It's a different crew altogether because, like, we had our Hold Steady contingent, but the vast majority of the people there probably wouldn't go to a Hold Steady show. So it's a little different.
Yeah, and I'll agree. Going to the show in Iowa, you do get a different. Craig Finn does have a different crew than the Hold Steady crew. For it's like 80% different, maybe 20% holdover. And I'm just glad I wasn't there because it sounds like I would have been in the trunk of your car driving. You guys would have shoved me in the trunk just to make room for everybody. So
we actually walked from the bar to the venue, so you would have been fine.
Okay, I would have been fine then.
All right. Well, it's been a long time since we've played our favorite game, Diamonds in the Drain. So.
He's fully entertained. He's got blood in his sink. He's got diamonds in the drain. She said she was coming, but she mostly just made hard, fast noises. It kind of sounded like.
Is it really our favorite game? I know you guys don't like it because usually when we play, I'm right, and you guys have some bloviating, pontificating about your reasoning and story arc, and then I just pick the right song and everybody agrees. But we're back. Let's do it.
This is our longest running game, and we haven't played it, and we've been too busy. We haven't been able to get back to it. So
yeah. So you know what? If you're not familiar with Diamonds in the Drain, because we haven't done it for so long, this is where we are taking a track from the first three records. We are going to choose it randomly by rolling dice. We are using D&D dice. If you're familiar with D&D, those are our diamonds, and D&D stands for Diamonds in the Drain in this case. And we're going to rank them in order of Olympic medals. So first place would be gold medal for 3 points. Second place would be silver medal for 2 points, and bronze would be 1 point. And the point of this is to see which is the best of the three records. And we've done quite a few, but let's see. We only have a couple of tracks left, but let's roll the dice and see what we come up with for this week.
All right. Shit, where I put my dice? Here we go. Here we go. Now are we gonna say we edited this down to? Or are we gonna say?
There's no doubt we're gonna get some doubles. So yes, I will edit it out if we get some doubles.
Okay.
Just roll the dice and we'll see which we get.
It looks like I got a 12, baby.
All right. Well, finally. I mean, after all those doubles, Jesus.
I mean, after all the time. I mean, look, and There's literally 3 songs left out of 12, so you knew we were going to hit a few. I didn't know we were going to hit that many. I was ready to go get a drink. I almost wanted to go get craps with him. He threw so many sevens. I mean, you threw so many sevens. I was like, is this for real? Like, can we go to Atlantic City?
The next time we do this, we should just flip a coin because there's only 2 left.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're going to... You know what? Next time, let's just flip a coin. That'll be easier.
All right. Which track did we get?
With track 12.
Okay.
Track 12. So in order, Mike, what'd you get?
Track 12 off Almost Killed Me is a little Hot Fries, baby.
All your favorite movies. They must seem so funny. If you weren't so high. I just ain't that high.
Separation Sunday, Gaspar, what'd you get?
Separation Sunday is 212 Margarita.
Some nights it just takes like a smile and a shake. And I've been with the bodies.
And off of the always impressive Boys and Girls in America, it is Girls Like Status. Which we know they not to be Girls Like Status. That's what Craig told me, and I believe it. So we have our 3 songs. We have our rankings. I will give a quick rundown for those who don't remember. Right now, Boys and Girls in America is way in the lead, but the other 2 are right at the heels. So let's see how this one shakes out. Mike, you usually go first. What do you got?
This one is tough. I'm going to start with a bronze. I'm going to go with Hot Fries. I do like this song. I love the line, the things that make you high will make you die. I love how Craig keeps saying that over. I do think this is a very lifter puller. I think this must have been one of the first songs they recorded. It's just got that shout out, that little lifter puller shout out where he keeps repeating that. And then I love the last line, where he keeps repeating, she said, it's my party and I'll die if I want to. You would too if it happened to you. I can't remember what 50 song he's taken that from. Obviously, it's I would cry if I want to, but I can't remember who does that 50 song. But so I'm going to go bronze with that, and then here I get a little controversial. I'm going to go silver. I'm going to go Girls Like Status. Probably one of my least favorite extended tracks that they have out, and they do play it quite often. I do enjoy it when they play it live. I don't listen to it, the recorded version, very often. So hence I'm giving it the silver. And that leaves the gold for me as 212 Margarita. I love that they started playing it again. I love I didn't know the story that Craig's saying, in New York, they had a 212 Margarita line to call for if you need a lawyer. I didn't know that because I don't live in New York, but I like that story. And then, he gives it the 612, I lost that part, but he says something about 612 Margarita. So he gives we get the Minneapolis area code in there also. So I just think it's a really cool song. I love that they started playing it again. So I'm going to give that my gold medal. What say you, Gaspar?
All right. Well, I mean, it wouldn't be a Diamonds in the Drain if we didn't say that, wow, this is a really hard one. So everybody drink.
Everybody drink.
But I gotta say, I'm in lockstep with you, Mike. Hot Fries is my bronze. It's a great song. It's probably one of the most lifter puller hold steady songs. It probably could have come out on one of the lifter puller records, and so I know the old school crew really do love this song. They don't play it very often, so you don't get to see the crowd reaction, but when they do play it, it definitely does get a reaction. Girls Like Status is, that's a crowd favorite, right? It is a great sing-along song. I agree with you. It's not one of my favorite songs off of Boys and Girls in America. It is a lot of fun live. But 212 Margarita, and maybe I'm being influenced by our time in Minnesota, but such a great song. It was awesome to hear it at the shows that we saw. It's definitely part of the storyline. It's one of my favorite songs off of that record, even though it is a bonus track, and that one gets the gold for me. So, Kevin, it's up to you.
Well, I'm not going to cop out like you guys did. And this is not that hard. This one's really easy. And I imagine people listening know how easy this is too. I will agree with you. Hot Fries is the bronze. That is definitely, of the three, my least favorite. It also probably has something to do with, it's probably one of the songs I've heard the least live. And again, I'm always about that experience and whatnot. So I'm into that. I don't care about storylines. That's how a song hits me. Hot Fries. I like my French fries hot, but that's about as hot as it gets. And they're not related here. This is where you guys are wrong. And the silver is 212 Margaritas. Because first off, what's the name of this game we play? Right?
Diamonds in the drain.
Right. And where is there a line that says diamonds in the drain?
That's not one of the criteria. That
doesn't matter. That just shows you guys how biased you are to the whole game. So, and again, wrong. So silver is 212 Margarita. Gold is Girls Like Status. I mean, the last lines of Girls Like Status are guys go for looks, girls go for status. I mean, he might as well be a priest preaching to a choir because it's pontificate. He's right. And Craig is right. I am right. Unfortunately, you guys are wrong. But because you guys are in cahoots, and as you were in cahoots with the throwback to Freddie Knuckles that you guys picked together, we're going to go through the results. So bronze today, Hot Fries, 3 points. Silver, the best song, Girls Like Status, 7 points. Because you two work together with your little twos. And then maybe because you're also drunks, 212 Margaritas got 8 points. So the gold winner for this episode, for this version, this round of Diamonds in the Drain, 212 Margaritas with 8 points.
Okay. So what does that do to the overall numbers?
It means you guys shit the bed, but it does help your cause. So we do have one clear-cut final result, no matter what, because there won't be enough points for it to win. Bronze is Almost Killed Me. It might not even enough points for it to edge out. It is bronze. It is 10 points behind, 2 songs to go. Not enough for it to make it up with the way those points will break down. So. Bronze, Almost Killed Me. Silver, 212 Margaritas put Separation Sunday right in the thick of it. It's 61 points total for the silver. And as we've been saying, because you guys worked against it, Boys and Girls in America is gold, but only with a 5-point lead now. It had a 6-point lead. You guys made up a point. So it could technically, depending how things shake out, it could not be gold. I don't think it will be. My heart of hearts says Boys and Girls in America is going to stand on that top podium, but there's 2 songs to go. But we'll see what happens next time.
Well, at this point, except for Almost Killed Me, it's not their game, but it's anybody's game between Separation Sunday and Boys and Girls in America. And the next 2 rounds are going to be difficult.
I think we should do them in one podcast, guys.
Maybe we'll do that because we do know what songs are left, right? We have track 6 to do, right? And track 2. Those are our 2 remainings.
Correct. So maybe we'll put together a shorter episode before Philly. We'll see what we can do time wise, but that's going to be Diamonds in the Drain.
I also think. Let us know what you think because I think people are going to agree with me, and you're going to be like, "Damn, Kev was right. He turned 50 and he still knows his shit." That's what I think is about to happen.
Kevin is right. He does say Diamonds in the Drain and Girls Like Status. And when he plays it live, This could be my imagination, but I think he looks at us and smiles sometimes when he says that, and it's probably my imagination. But just let me keep that as my own delusion because I like that.
Sure, we'll give that one to you, Mike.
Hey, you know what? He looks at me now because I voted gold. You assholes voted silver. So you know what? You don't get to any of my juice on this diamonds in the drain squeeze anymore. You guys are out. It's my game. You guys voted against Girls Like Stat. And then not only did you vote against, you're like, it's not my favorite song, 212 Margarita. No, I just remember who represents Diamonds in the Drain. Thank you, people.
That's why we play the game. That's why we play the game, Kevin.
True. And I think that's going to do it for us, but we will be back with another episode in the coming weeks. We thank you guys for tuning in. We do this because you listen, and we've seen the numbers go up. They really have. So whether you're telling your friends or you guys just like hearing me be right multiple times and you listen more than once, I appreciate you because I really do. But because of you guys, we do this. So give us a like, give us a follow, tell a friend, leave us a message on social media. We really do check that stuff, and we appreciate you guys tuning in. And Gaspar, why don't you tell them where they can find us?
Sure. The easiest place to find us is now our official website, which is thehoodratrecap.com. So please do check that out. As always, we still have our link tree, which is linktr.ee/thehoodratrecap. You can check us out there as well. Both have all of our social media, past episodes, our current episode, and everything you need to know about the Hood Rat Recap. If you wanted to leave us a voicemail message and make Mike really happy, Mike, where could they do that?
Well, you won't, but you can always click on the show notes and leave us a voicemail there. And so everybody just fast forward here because you aren't going to do that. So if you're not going to click on and leave us a voicemail, you can click on the show notes and leave us a quick survey. This survey is really quick. It's the fastest one you'll ever take. It's faster than the laugh line on our Freddie Knuckles segment. I mean, you will be through it in a hurry. And that'll just help us make the show better for you guys. We just want to make it better. So please go ahead and do that. And yeah.
There is no free Dunkin' gift card in this survey, though. So if you get one of those pop-ups, there's none of that. You could get a free Freddie Knuckles from Gaspar if you want, but who the fuck would want that?
You could always get a free survey.
If you're the 1,000th person to take the survey, we'll give you a windbreaker that says Hood Rat Recap on it. So.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. That was Bill from Chicago and Kat from Vermont. That's Kevin. That's Mike. And I'm Gaspar. And us guys and all you guys and gals, we are all the Hood Rat Recap.
Shout out
to my boy Carabetta.
Are we going to push the survey this episode? Because we should definitely tell them that there's going to be a survey in the show notes. Did you go over that, Kev, the survey?
No, but I'll take your word for it. I'm sure it's fine. I haven't looked at anything that's not sort of tied to the 10,000 clients I have right now.
Okay.
So I'm cool with it. I'm sure it's fine. It's not, if it says, is Kevin my favorite host, that's even better.
It doesn't. But
oh, well, then you fucked up.
Well, it could. It says, what's your favorite part of the show? They could say Kevin. So
I mean, they could say Kevin's reaction. And people might, because I do that. But this is, we're bantering now. That's not.